Asmad Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmad Paramagurubhyo Namaha, Asmad Sarvagurubhyo Namaha. So we're continuing on with our discussion of Hari Bhakti Vilas. And Hari Bhakti Vilas, we have covered the first two Vilasas, which deal with finding a guru and taking Vaishnava initiation. So now we're going to start today the third Vilas, which is about the activities after initiation. So let's have a look at the text. So it's very nice in Hari Bhakti Vilas. Every Vilas opens with a text where Gopal Bhatta writes a text in praise of Lord Chaitanya, and just offering his obeisances to him. And sometimes what it does is it gives us in the first verse, which is like a Mangala Charanam, a verse of praise to start a text. In the beginning of each Vilas, it tells us a little bit about what the Vilas is about. So here in text 1, it says, I offer my obeisances at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna Chaitanya, who is full of unlimited opulence. Simply by his mercy, even a person who is born in a low-class family can become the teacher of codes of proper conduct, right? So here in this verse, he's praising Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he's giving us a hint that this Vilas is going to be about, he's going to start explaining to us the proper conduct for a person who has just taken initiation. So the first two Vilas is finding a guru and taking Vaishnava initiation, and now we have this first verse about taking about proper conduct. So going on to text 2, now I shall describe, by referring to the Vedas and other revealed scriptures, the proper behavior of a person who desires to worship Lord Krishna after taking initiation. Right? So this is an important point, that before you take initiation, then whatever type of behavior you had before initiation, there's certain behavior that he is suggesting for after initiation. So, text 3. The worship of an initiated person is eternal. Okay, nityata. So it means the activities of a person who has taken initiation. So here it's in text number 3, it says, it's stated in the Agamas. The Agamas are also called Tantras. They are set of scriptures that tell us how to perform different activities, how to worship the Lord. So one who, after receiving a Krishna mantra, it doesn't exactly say Krishna mantra here, but it says receiving a mantra. So let's say after you receive a mantra, if you get initiated into a mantra, does not worship the Lord Krishna, who is the objective of his mantra. So in this case, of course, the Gopal mantra was the main mantra, which was the initiation mantra for Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So Lord Krishna is the deity, who is mentioned in the Gopal mantra and worshipped by the Gopal mantra. So one who, after receiving a Krishna mantra, who does not worship Lord Krishna, who is the objective of his mantra, will find that all his endeavors are in vain, and that the predominating deity, in other words, Lord Krishna, of the mantra is displeased with him. But in actual fact, if we look at the Sanskrit, there's no real mention of Krishna, but we can say that this is a general rule for any mantra. If you approach a guru and you get initiated into the mantra of a particular deity, the idea is that you should actually use that mantra for worship of that deity. You shouldn't just take initiation into so many mantras and not use them for actual worship of that particular deity. So otherwise, the deity will be displeased. Why did you take initiation into my mantra and you're not using that mantra? You're not meditating upon the meaning of that mantra. You're not doing japa of that mantra. You are not using that mantra to worship me in many ways, whatever it is. So continuing on to text number 4. Ata sadacharaha. Ata usually means the beginning of a topic. We say the word ata, it means now. now therefore there is this discussion of sadachara. Sadachara means eternal conduct or good conduct, right? The codes of proper conduct. Without following the codes of proper conduct, no activity will yield any fruit. For this reason, there is certainly a need to follow proper etiquette while worshiping the Lord. So sometimes we hear that when chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, there's no rules and regulations. Some people say that in Shikshastika, Lord Chaitanya has said, Smarane Nakalaha. Smarane actually means to remember. Nakalaha means there's no rules. There's no rules in chanting and remembering you. Right? So sometimes people will say that. So there's no rules when chanting Hare Krishna. You can do it anywhere, and you can just chant the holy name anywhere. And so now the idea would be that here it's stated that there are some rules. There are definitely some rules of conduct and etiquette that you should follow in order to properly worship the Lord. So that's just the very first pramana given here, the proof from that he's saying. If we're going to talk about rules of good conduct, the first question is, why should we follow rules of good conduct? And the answer is because it's proper to etiquette and it's proper to follow these rules of good conduct. Otherwise, we won't get the fruit. We won't yield the result from the worship that we want to get. So here he's saying from Vishnu Purana, giving a proof from Vishnu Purana about this. And it says, one can worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, or Krishna, by proper discharge of the principles of Varna and Ashrama. There is no alternative to pacifying the Lord by execution of the principles of Varna Ashrama. Okay? The Varna Ashrama system. So the Varna Ashrama system is a system of divisions of society, that there are different types of people, and they are divided up into 4 classes, and also they have 4 stages in their lives. So there are 4 classes of people, and each of those persons goes through different stages in their lives, not always all the stages, but some of the stages. Each different class of person may go through some of the stages. The Brahmin, who is the priestly class or the intellectual, can go through all the stages of studentship, householder life, retired and renounced life, which is brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. The kshatriya normally goes also through studentship, householder life, and retired life, where he goes to the forest. That is the kshatriya, the military or the political class of persons, the administrators, right? Then you have the 3rd class, which is the businessmen or the entrepreneurs, the people who run the businesses, or the people who do the farming, who own the land, who are landowners, and those persons who are engaged in business, those are vaishyas. They go through also studentship, and then they go into householder life. They don't usually retire or go to renounced life. And then you have the Shudras, or the workers, the people who work for all the other classes and help them to do their activities. And those people normally do not take the vow of a student, a celibate student, and go to the Gurukula, but they instead become apprentice to their parents or to other people, and they begin their work, and they therefore, for them, as soon as they mature, they get married, and so they enter householder life only. So they have one ashrama, or one stage of life only for the Shudras. So there are these people who are divided up into 4 classes and divided into 10 divisions in Varnashram. So the system of Varnashram is spoken about in the Puranas. It's also spoken about, mostly the rules and regulations are given in the Shmitis, like Manu Shmiti, Parashara Shmiti, in different Shmiti Shastras, Apastamba, Bodhayana, Gautama, Harita. There are many, many Shmitis. I think 18 Shmitis in all. So there are some of them are more or less applicable. Some of them give rules which we don't necessarily subscribe to. which are based on caste or a class of person by birth rather than by qualities. But we don't subscribe to that idea. We subscribe to the idea that a person fits in a class or fits in a position in society according to their qualities, and not just because they were born in a particular family. Another argument can be made, though, that if somebody is born in a particular family, it was because he had the karma from his past pious and sinful activity or sinful activities, that the reactions for those pious and sinful activities have meant that he has taken birth in a particular family with a particular body, and therefore he becomes a king. There used to be a thing in Europe. There was an idea, a theory called the divine right of kings. So kings used to say, we have a divine right. God has chosen us to take birth in this particular family, and therefore we have the right to rule the country. And this is even up until just recently. We still have a monarchy in the United Kingdom. We have some other monarchies which are not exactly total monarchies, but they have some parliamentary system as well as the monarchy. And then you have in Nepal, they had a monarchy where they considered the king to be like a sent by Vishnu, sent by the Supreme Person. The same thing in Thailand. In some of these countries, they still think that the king has a divine right to rule the country. So here it's saying that there's a very similar verse to this in this is from Vishnu Purana, but there's a very similar verse to this in Manusmriti, where it says that you should worship the Lord. The first thing you should do is follow the principles of Vana and Ashrama, that social system. The second, and secondly, it says only by following this can you properly worship the Supreme Person. So it may be a little bit controversial these days, because mostly we don't see that there are any societies which are actually following today exactly all of the minute rules of the Vana and Ashrama. And even some people can say, well, this is okay for India, and that they had that system, but at least even in India, and what to speak of the rest of the world, they're not following the system. So it may become a moot point. This particular pramana here, it may become a moot point to say we should follow Vanashrama, because actually, if we get that right down to it, there will be a lot of discussion about exactly what to follow from Vanashrama and what not to follow. We can also note that there are some things written in the Smriti Shastras which don't actually agree with many principles that come in different Vaishnava sampradayas. So how can we follow? We can't follow perfectly the Vana Ashram system as given in the Manusmriti or in certain other Smritis, excuse me. So therefore, even Vaishnavas, even in India, even people who are very, very orthodox Vaishnavas in India, you can still find that they have some principles which don't match with the Vanashram system as given in, for instance, Manusmriti or some of the other Smritis. So we have to sort of take this pramana with a grain of salt, because it's a very deep discussion as to how to actually follow the Vanashrama system according to. Now, some people, of course, we subscribe also to looking in the Vedas, looking in the Upanishads. There's an Upanishad, one of the 108 recognized Upanishads, called Vajrasuchika Upanishad, which is a deconstruction of caste. So whereas the Smritis, which are lesser proof, in scripture we have a hierarchy of proof. The Vedas are the highest type of proof, and below that there are some other types of proof like Smriti. So if something is said in Smriti, but it goes against or it contradicts what's given in Shruti or the Vedas, then it can't be accepted. So Smriti is only accepted, the rules of Smriti are only accepted when they don't contradict the Vedas or the Upanishads. So we have this Vajrasuchika Upanishad, and it very clearly deconstructs the idea that caste is by birth, and it says no, caste is not by birth. And there are some other examples in the Upanishads. Also, there's a story of Satyakama Jabala in the Chandogya Upanishad. There was one boy who was the bastard son of a maidservant, And so he wanted to be in the Gurukula. The head of the guru, who was the head of the Gurukula, asked him whether he was a Brahmin or Kshatriya Vaishya, whether he was a twice-born person by birth, in a way. So the guru asked him, who is your father? If you want to be part of the school, you have to tell me who your father is. I'll understand from your answer who your father is, whether you're a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya boy, whether you can join this Gurukula. Because as I said before, the Shudras don't join the Gurukula. So this boy went home. He didn't know who his father was because his mother was a single mother. So he went and asked his mother, and his mother said, I really don't know who your father is because I worked in many. She was thinking that she worked in many places, and she didn't want to tell the boy that, but she just told him, your father is Satyakama. His name is Satyakama, which means true love. So she was just saying that your father is true love. Okay, so he went back and he told this answer. He was a very innocent kid. Went back and told this answer to the guru in the Gurukula, and the guru understood that this is what the mother had told him because she doesn't know who the father is actually. And so therefore he's a bastard son of this maidservant. So he understood that he wasn't by birth, he was not qualified to enter the Gurukula, where you have the people of pure birth, Brahmin, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, in that Gurukula. But instead, the Guru said, I accept you to be in this Gurukula because you told the truth. You were not ashamed of telling this fact about yourself. And therefore, because you told the truth, you have shown the principle of being like a Brahmin. Because in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Samo dhamma tapa socham shantimajamam evacha jnanam vijnanamastikam brahmakama swabhavajam. Samo dhamma tapa socham shantimajamam evacha. So all these different qualities, including truthfulness, right, are qualities of the Brahmins, are qualities of the priestly or intellectual class. So the Guru thought, by his qualities, he should be in my school, and therefore I'll admit him, even though his lineage, by his birth, he is considered to be a very low-class person and should not be admitted. So there are some people who cling to the idea of caste by birth, and other people who want to establish a society which where the qualities of the person are taken into consideration, like truthfulness, like austerity, like cleanliness, etc. So that is the question here. So yes, we have to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna by following the principles of Varnashrama. What are the principles of Varnashrama exactly, according to the Shastras and according to our experience? Right, that isn't a whole discussion, and we can't go into that fully here. But it might be an interesting idea to look at the Shmritis and see if it's possible. I think it's probably not possible to follow all the principles of Varnashram today as written in the scriptures, because otherwise we have to live in a particular place in India, and we have to live under a king, which is not happening in India right now. And we have to, live in certain ways. So it's not possible to follow all the rules and regulations, but maybe some of the principal rules and regulations could be followed. Anyhow, let's continue on. So after saying that we should follow the Varna Ashrama principles, right? Text 6 says, it is going to explain some more from Markandeya Purana. There's a conversation between a person called Madalasa and Alarka in the Markandeya Purana. And it says, a householder should always display proper etiquette and behavior. Those who do not behave properly can attain happiness neither in this life nor in the next. So specifically here is talking about grihastas, right? Now, the grihastas are the main group in society, where from whatever caste or class you belong, all this grihasta ashrama, this grihasta stage of life is common for Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras. It's common for all the different classes. So most people will be grihastas. So, because most people will not, will not be Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas. Most people will be workers or Sudras. They'll be followers, and therefore they'll also be Grihastas, like that. So, what he's going to talk about here is not necessarily the Raja Dharma or the behavior of kings, or the Brahmana Dharma, but he's going to look at this this idea of conduct, codes of conduct, from the ashrama point of view. From the ashrama point of view, he's going to describe the conduct of a householder. So he's saying that a householder should have proper etiquette and behavior. So continuing on with text number 7. When a person does not follow proper etiquette, all of his activities, including his giving of charity, performing of sacrifice, or undergoing austerities, award him no benefit. Okay, so he's trying to make the point here. It's very important that we should follow proper etiquette and proper activities. Otherwise, all the things which are going to be described here, all the different activities of the devotee of the Vaishnava after taking initiation, are going to be useless if he doesn't have proper behavior. So in the Bhavishyottara Purana, a conversation between Sri Krishna and Yudhisthira, there's a text here, text number 8. Even if one studies the 6 branches of the Vedas, right? What are the 6 branches of the Vedas? They are Shiksha, Vyakarna, Nirukta, Kalpa, Nirukta, Kalpa, Jyotish, and Chanda. Okay, but not usually in that order. Usually the order is Shiksha, Vyakarna, Chanda, Shiksha, Vyakarna, Nirukta, Chanda, Jyotish, and Kalpa, right? Which means the science of phonetics, the science of grammar, the science of etymology, which means word meanings, the science of poetic meter, the science of astrology or astronomy, right? And the science of ritualism. These are the 6 branches of the Vedas. And these are called Vedangas, right? And not only that, but they are considered to be, they're analogous to being parts of the body. So if we consider that the human society to be like a person, like a body, right? Then the branches of knowledge represent different parts of the person's body. So the shiksha, the pronunciation, is I believe the nose, or the nasal passages, or the mouth and nose, right? Vyakarna is so pronunciation. We need the mouth and the nose to pronounce words. Vyakarna is so without which we can speak. So okay, the nose is shiksha. The mouth is vyakarna. The ears by which we understand things is nirukta. Chanda is the legs by which we go through a text, right? The poetic meter. Jyotish is the eyes, and kalpa is the hands. Jyotisha, astrology, shows us what past, present, and future is, and the hands are the 2 items that we use for doing the rituals. Okay, so that's the explanation of the 6 branches of the Vedas. Okay, so he will not become purified if he's devoid of proper etiquette or behavior. So even if you know all these things, or if you know all these 6 Vedangas, you cannot become purified unless you unless you have proper behavior and etiquette. Vedic knowledge leaves such a person at the time of death, just as a bird leaves her nest as soon as she develops her wings. So continuing on to the next 2 texts, 9 and 10. As water kept in a human skull or in a pot made of dog skin is contaminated due to the contact with an impure object, all activities of a person who does not follow the codes of proper conduct are contaminated. So obviously, unless you're some tantric or something, some mystic or whatever it is, you don't usually use these things like a human skull or a pot made of dog skin. to hold water in. These are considered very impure and contaminated. So we would not use this to keep the water in. So therefore, this is just the analogy which is being given. If a person doesn't live in a proper way according to proper conduct and etiquette, then he's considered to be like water kept in a pot. He may be a nice thing. Water's a nice thing, but when you keep it in a human skull or a pot made of dog skin, it becomes contaminated. So, O king, a person devoid of proper behavior does not become happy either in this life or in the next. Just as remembering Lord Hari is essential, so is the following of proper etiquette. So it's just mentioning here that we remember the Supreme Lord. That's the essence of all rules and regulations. So we've got all these rules and regulations that we're going to be talking about, which have proper etiquette, but the essence of all of them is to always remember Lord Krishna and never forget him. So that's why it's mentioned here that just as remembering Lord Hari is essential, similarly is proper etiquette. So the first thing we have to realize is that there are many, many of these little rules and regulations that might be there. We have to balance them always against remembering of Lord Hari. So if by following some small rule and regulation in the Smritis, we actually forget the principal reason why we're doing this is the worship of the Lord. If we forget the Lord and his worship, but we're following these minute rules and regulations, it's not going to help us. If, however, we have to break some of these small rules and regulations, but still we're following the principle, spirit of the whole idea. The spirit of the Shastra is to always remember the Lord and to serve the Lord. And therefore, that's what we should take as our guide. That's the main thing. So now we're going to have a Mahatmyam. Mahatmyam means a glorification of the codes of proper conduct. So text 11. In the Vishnu Purana, the duty of the householder is spoken about. It says, persons who are thoroughly exemplary in their behavior are victorious in this life and the next. Continuing to text 12. Saintly persons are those who are not contaminated by the fault of failing to observe the codes of proper conduct. Let me say that again. Saintly persons are those who are not contaminated by the fault of failing to observe codes of proper conduct. Therefore, saintly persons. Now here the word here is sadhavaha. Sadhavaha means sadhus, plural. Sadhavaha means, when we have the word sadhu, means an eternal person. Sadhu, right? So sat means eternal. So sadhu means an eternal person. It means a person interested in the eternal, a person worshiping the eternal, means the Supreme Lord, right? Who's interested in spiritual things. So a person who is a sadhu or a holy man or a holy woman, a holy person, right, first of all, the first definition of a holy person, right, is that they should have proper conduct. The word sat means honest, right? The behavior of devotees is called sadachara. So sadachara means, so sometimes you'll hear this word achara, right? We have, for instance, the word for the guru, another word for the teacher in Sanskrit is acharya. Acharya is a person who practices proper achara. Achara, acharya. So an acharya follows proper achara. And there is prachara and achara. Prachara means he preaches, he teaches. But achara means he also practices. So, for instance, a teacher should not only teach, but he should also practice what he teaches. So we have a saying in English, you should practice what you preach. Sometimes in years and years ago, we used to have doctors would tell people, please don't smoke, it's bad for your health. But the same doctors who are telling you not to smoke, the same doctor is also smoking himself. So this is called hypocritical in English, when a person acts in a way which is opposite to the way that he expects others to act, or he preaches to others to act. If a person acts in the wrong way. Now, normally, up till now in Vilasa number 1, we were searching for a guru. The person is searching for a guru, and he finds a person who is a sadhu, who is a holy person, and to take instructions from and to serve and to ask questions from. And so that person is a holy person, and therefore that person should have proper behavior. And therefore, when the guru and the disciple, when the teacher and the student live together for 1 year or even 3 years or 5 years before initiation, they should observe the behavior of each other. The student, the prospective student, will observe very closely the acharya or the guru and see that his achara, his conduct is proper according to the scriptures. The guru, on the other hand, the teacher, will also observe the student and see that his behavior is also perfect according to the scriptures. So once they realize that they trust each other, that their behavior because external behavior is an indication of our internal thoughts, right? So we don't know what other people are thinking. We only know what they do, what their actions are. So we have to judge people by their actions. It's also said in Sanskrit, palena parichite. Palena means by the fruit. Parichite. We understand something by the fruit, right? If we go to an orchard and we see mangoes growing on the tree, the fruit is a mango. Therefore, we know it's a mango tree. If we go and approach a guru or a teacher, and the teacher is teaching certain things, and he's not acting the same way as he's teaching, or he's teaching something, he's acting in one way and teaching something different, right? He's a hypocrite, right? He's not following the good conduct. Then we can understand that he's not a proper teacher, and therefore we should reject him. And similarly, a teacher who gets a student and he teaches the student certain things, and the student doesn't follow those things, and instead says that he's following but isn't following properly, that is a wrong student also. Now, it is possible for students and teachers to make mistakes, and so there is a situation where a student or a teacher makes mistakes. In that case, if the teacher makes a mistake, the student should go to the teacher and say, in private, the student can point out some defects that he sees in the teacher's behavior, and in private, the teacher should also correct the student like that. So they can act as a correction for each other, but they should do that in private. They shouldn't display that to anybody and everybody, because obviously some people do make mistakes. Even in the case of, I believe Vidura got mixed up with the stealing of the Shamantaka jewel. So there was a jewel that was stolen. There was a whole murder mystery that went on, and one devotee of the Lord got mixed up in that, and so therefore somebody can blame him for being like that. They can blame him. But so sometimes, for instance, in the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, Ramanuja Sampradaya, we have the example of Tondradi Podi Alwar, who fell down with a prostitute, and of course he regretted it afterwards. But anyway, the point is that any fault in the conduct of saintly persons or their students should be seen we have to see that. We have to go and we have to see that, and they should be that should be discussed with them privately, and people should try to work that out. So, but anyway, the point is that a saintly person here in this text is described as being honest. Honest in this sense means that what he says, what he preaches, is the same thing which he observes in his behavior. So that's what we say, that achara or behavior and prachar, preaching, should be on the same level, should be the same thing. So in a conversation in text 13, conversation between Skanda and Agastya in the Kashi Kanda of some Purana. So it's a section about Kashi or Benares, right? It says a Brahmin who is adverse to the study of the Vedas who transgresses the proper etiquette, who is lazy, and who eats in the house of sinful people is punished by Yamaraj. So here's some rules here. First is, a person is a Brahmana. A Brahmana means a person. It could mean a person who is born in a Brahmin family, in a priestly family or intellectual family. It could also mean a person who has the qualities of a Brahmin given in Bhagavad Gita, as I said before, samodama tapaso cham chantima chamevacha yanam vijnanamastikam brahma kama swabhavajam. These are the qualities of a Brahmin, right? And we can look that up later, right? So a Brahmin is interested in Brahman. He's interested in the Supreme. So a person who is interested in studying or knowing the Supreme, right, knowing the meaning of life and knowing about himself and his true relationship with the Supreme Person, that person is a Brahmin. Especially if we read Vajrasuchika Upanishad, as I said before. So that person, a person who's a Brahmin, which means mostly Vaishnavas, they all have these, whether they call themselves Brahmins or not, they have Brahminical tendencies. They have the tendency to want to worship the Supreme and know about the Supreme. And therefore, it says a Brahmin who is averse to the study of the Vedas. So that means Brahmins should study the Vedas, right? Brahmins should study the Vedas. And they shouldn't be averse, they shouldn't be against studying the Vedas. So exactly what it means by studying the Vedas, it could mean the Vedas or the literature which explains the Vedas, which means the Shmitis. Could be Shruti or Shmiti. According to some rules of Varnashrama, some people born in certain families are not, or even ladies, are not supposed to study the actual Vedas or the Shruti, but they are given the Puranas and other Shmiti literatures which they're supposed to study. So here we can get a lot out of this first rule here. So it just, again, because we're not exactly following the certain little rules of Varnashrama, we might interpret this first rule to be in several different ways. So it just depends. But anyhow, the idea is a person who's interested in serving God, he should study the scriptures in general, right? Whether it's specifically the Vedas or the Shmiti Shastras or not, we don't know. So who transgresses the proper etiquette? So he should, first of all, a Brahmin shouldn't be. There are two types of rules here, right? We have what's called yamas and niyamas. So yama is something you should do, and a niyama is something you shouldn't do. So here it's being given in a negative way. In order to say that you should study the Vedas or you should study the scriptures, it says he shouldn't be averse to the study of the Vedas. It's said in a negative way. So he shouldn't be against the study of the Vedas, and he shouldn't transgress proper etiquette, whatever that means, right? He shouldn't be lazy. Lazy is a pretty general term, right? So in whatever way, according to his duties, he has to properly do them. And who eats in the house of sinful people. So we shouldn't eat. Here it's saying here the word dur annam, dur annadam, dur anna. Dur anna means here that it's bad food. The food that is cooked by people who perform sinful activities may not be pure. It may not be pure vegetarian food. It may not be offered to God. Whatever it is, it has some defect, and therefore we shouldn't accept that food. We shouldn't go to the house of sinful people or non-devotional people, non-Vaishnavas, and accept food there, right? And here he's saying that Yamaraja means the ruler or the master of death, the master of rules. Yama means rules, so master of rules, who judges everyone after death. That person will be punished by him, by Yamaraja, if he does these things. If he's averse to the study of the scriptures, if he transgresses proper etiquette, if he's lazy, or if he eats in the house of sinful people. Now, and there are many, many rules about eating, and we'll get to some other rules about eating later on. But here, and there are some exceptions to this rule, obviously. So this is just a general rule. So continuing on with text 14, let's get some more rules about good conduct. Therefore, the twice born. Now, what does it mean by twice born? Here we've got in the Sanskrit, dvijaha. The word dvijaha means twice born. What does that mean? It means person who has taken the upanayinam samskara. In general, it means a person who has gone through even the Vaishnava initiation, somebody who has approached the spiritual master and been born again, right? Sometimes the Christians say this, are you born again? You should be born again. Your first birth is from your mother and father, your physical mother and father. Your second birth is from knowledge of the Vedas, knowledge of the scriptures, and your father, that is your mother, and the guru is your father, the teacher is your father. So here, anybody who's taken initiation, basically, they've said here twice born. It could mean, again, a person who's taken birth in the Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya family and who's had the Upanayinam Samskar. It can also refer to people who have taken that initiation, which we just read about in the second Vilas, right? And they've become Vaishnavas. They have become born again as Vaishnavas, as servants of the Lord. And therefore, the twice born should be careful to practice sadachara or eternal or good conduct. Even holy places desire to associate with well-behaved saintly persons. And in fact, when we talk about holy places, one of the reasons why places are holy is because so many holy people go there. And just to go to the holy places in order to take bath in the river is not the purpose of going to a holy place, but the best reason to go to a holy place is because there are holy people there from whom you can learn about how to worship the Supreme Lord, right? How to perfect your life. Okay, so continuing on with text 15, again in the Bhavishyotara Purana, the word Bhavishya, by the way, means future. So Bhavishyotara Purana is, sometimes it gives some indication of things that may happen in the future, but here it's going to be quoted again about good conduct. Religious principles are born of the codes of proper conduct. Saintly persons are always inclined to follow the codes of proper conduct, and so their behavior and activities are known as sadachara or proper conduct. Right. So there's two ways of looking at this. The first way that we saw was, if a person doesn't follow proper conduct as given in the scriptures, then he can't call himself a sadhu or a holy person, right? The other way is to look at it is a person who's a sadhu, who is seen to be a sadhu, whatever he does is considered perfect conduct or proper conduct. There's two ways of looking at it, right? First of all, we should know what the proper conduct is according to the scriptures. And then we should judge people. And that's what happens at the time before initiation, when the student and the acharya, the teacher, the student and the teacher are testing, mutual testing is going on of each other. They're looking at the definitions of proper conduct in the scriptures, and they're looking at the other person and thinking, is that person following that proper conduct in the form when the prospective student looks at the teacher, and when the teacher looks at the prospective student, he thinks, is that person going to be able to follow proper conduct after he's initiated? So once they make a judgment that, yes, this person is following proper conduct, therefore he's a proper guru, he's doing what he says, what he's preaching, and the guru also says, oh, this person is a proper disciple because I can see that he will be able to follow these rules that I give him after initiation or at initiation for the rest of his life, and therefore I should initiate him like that. So that's the discussion going on there. It's the comparison between the behavior of the two people according to the rules in the scriptures. Here, what's being said is looking at it from the other way. After initiation, we have to look and we have to see that these people are following good practices. They are sadhus already. They're considered to be saintly people, right? They're considered to be Vaishnavas. And therefore, whatever they do is considered saintly, even if they might make some mistake, like Tondarati Podi Alwar, right? they're still considered to be saintly. What does Lord Krishna say about this in Bhagavad Gita? He says, Abhichet suracharo bhajite mama nanyapa. Even if a saintly person does something incredibly wrong, right? Still is to be considered to be saintly if he is on the path. If he's continuing to be a Vaishnava like that, he may make some mistake here and there. So it's understood in the scriptures that nobody's perfect in this material world, or maybe there are some perfect people, but I'll just speak for myself. I'm not perfect, and therefore I might make some mistake. But because I'm trying to be a Vaishnava, trying to be a servant of the Supreme Lord, then I should be understood to still be a Vaishnava, even if I make some mistake, according to Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Right. So continuing on to text 16. Therefore, one who desires to attain the ultimate goal of life must exhibit the behavior known as sadachara. Okay, so this is very encouraging. It's encouraging everybody to perform good and proper behavior, proper etiquette, and this will help us to attain the ultimate goal of life, which is, of course, moksha or prema of Krishna, being able to worship Lord Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan after leaving this life, but also worshiping the Lord in this life. So serving the Lord is the goal, like that. So the ultimate goal will be service to the Lord, and our good behavior is going to help us to attain that. O King, even if a faithful and non-envious person does not possess any good quality, he will easily achieve his desired goal by behaving according to the codes of proper conduct. Right. So this is all, the codes of proper conduct are not being spoken about too much here. They're giving a few hints about them, giving some important ones like study of the Vedas, not eating sinful food, all these sort of things. Eating sattvic food. There's basically two types of food. There's food that's going to help us in spiritual life, that's going to help us become more sattvic, more in the mode of goodness. And there's other food in the mode of passion and ignorance, which is going to not be so good for our spiritual lives. Okay. So it may affect us in some way. So except for that, we haven't got too many details. So therefore we're just giving a mahatmyam, we're just giving a glorification of good conduct in general, and we haven't got to the nitty-gritty little rules about it yet. So continuing on with text 17, the root of a good family or religion is sadachara. People who lack sadachara are neither pious nor noble. Okay, so again, more glorification of good behavior without going into the specifics. Continuing on to text 18, it's also stated herein, that by following the prescribed behavior known as sadachara, or good behavior, proper behavior, one obtains opulence, glory, and long duration of life, as well as freedom from poverty, immature death, and inauspiciousness. Okay, so here's some more inducements for us to follow proper behavior is, if we follow proper behavior, we will get opulence, glory, and long duration of life. If we don't follow that, we'll get the opposite to those. Poverty, immature death means untimely death, and inauspiciousness. So, continuing on, text 19. O King, if one follows the codes of proper conduct, one is sure to attain the three objectives of life: religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification, which in Sanskrit are dharma, dharma, artha, and kama, right? So religiosity, right, righteousness, economic development, getting money and getting wealth, and sense gratification or enjoyment in this very life. The fourth one, there are four purusharthas or goals of human life which are generally talked about in the Vedic scriptures, and they are dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, the fourth one, which is liberation. And as I said, liberation in the Vaishnava sense means the ability to serve the Supreme Lord eternally in his abode. So, and the Vaishnavas, that is our natural position, and therefore we are very happy. That's when we're going to be the happiest, if we're engaged down in that natural position as being a servant of the Lord. Therefore, every intelligent person should conscientiously follow the path of sadachar as described in the scriptures. Right? Okay. So now we're going to talk a little bit about daily activities. Now, sometimes you'll hear activities are broken up into different types of activities, right? So obviously, conduct means we have to do some activities. We have to do some work, and when we do that work, we have to do it in a proper way according to proper etiquette. So what types of works do we do? What types of activities do we do? Those are broken up into some different categories. So the categories are nitya, naimittika, and karmya. Nitya, naimittika, and karmya. Nitya means daily activities. The word nitya means eternal. It also means daily. So things that we do every day, our daily routine, are going to be talked about next. Secondly, we have naimittika. Naimittika means occasionally. When something comes up, occasionally there's something that comes up fortnightly, weekly, monthly, yearly. There might be or on the occasion of something that happens when like an eclipse or something like that, which we don't know that it's going to happen, but it happens. Then there's something to be done at that time too. That is called naimittika. So nitya is daily, right? If we describe an activity here, which you do every day, that's called a nitya kritya, a nitya karma, right? In both cases, an eternal activity, a daily activity. If we say it's a naimittika karma, it's a karma or an activity which is done occasionally, and we'll tell you the occasions when it's done and when it's not to be done. Then there's another type called kamya. Kamya means nitya and naimittika have to be done. They have to be done. Your daily activities have to be done. Your occasional activities have to be done. No doubt about it. Kamya activities don't have to be done. They're done when we have a particular desire to get some result. So if we have a desire to have a result, perhaps, there's the famous example of this would be what we call putra karmeshti yaga. Putra karmeshti yaga. So yaga is a sacrifice, a big sacrifice. So somebody who desires to have a son, he hasn't got any progeny, and he wants to have a son or a daughter. He wants to have he wants his wife to give birth to progeny. Then he might perform a sacrifice called putra karmeshti. Karmeshti means karma ishti means I have the desire for that. I have the desire to have a son or a daughter born. So I perform this particular. That is called a kamya karma. A kamya karma. That my desire is to do that work is because of my desire. It's not something that I have to do either daily or on an occasional basis. But nitya and naimittika, I have to do those. Okay, so now the first part we're going to talk about what was called nitya karmas, or daily activities, things that are done every day. So every day. Ata, tatra, ata. Again, now we're going to talk about daily activities. Brahme muhurte utaya. Very simple. One should rise early in the morning. And specifically, it's mentioned here, Brahme muhurta. So muhurta is a length of time. There are, in fact, just like we break up a day into 24 hours, right? So muhurtas are about 48 minutes. So 48 minutes, if we have 10 times 24 minutes in an hour, we have 20 times 48. 24 hours, 60, excuse me. If there was, let's start that again. 60, if we have 60, if we have 24 hours, so 24 times 60 minutes, that means we have 60 times 24 minutes, right? In a day and night. So if we have 60 times 24 minutes, then we have 30 times 48 minutes. So that means there are 30 muhurtas in a day and night. 30 muhurtas in a day and night, and they all have names, different names. There's a specific one, 1 hour and 32 minutes, or 2 muhurtas. If we double 48, we get one I'm sorry, 1:36. 1 hour and 36 minutes, because an hour's got 60 minutes in it. So 96 minutes, or 1 hour and 36 minutes before the sunrise. And remember, the sunrise is the beginning of the Vedic day, not 12 midnight, the sunrise. So we're used to in modern clocks and modern timekeeping, we're used to the day changes at midnight. So before midnight it's one day, and after midnight it's the next day. No, that's not true. In the Vedic civilization, the day starts at sunrise. But 96 minutes, or 1 hour and 36 minutes before sunrise, up until 48 minutes before sunrise, that is a muhurta. And that muhurta is called Brahma Muhurta. So that is the time when we should get up. Brahma Muhurta. So Brahma Muhurta is the time we should get up. During the Brahma Muhurta, 1 hour and 36 minutes before sunrise, we should get up while chanting the holy name of Krishna. So here it says Krishna Krishneti. So Krishna Krishneti means Krishna Krishna iti. Right? The word iti in Sanskrit means thus. And in Sanskrit we don't have, in other languages. In other languages we have these inverted commas. We put some quote marks up when we write something, and the quote marks indicate that there's direct speech. So in Sanskrit there's no quote marks. So the only way to indicate direct speech is by putting the word iti at the end. Thus. So kirtayan means we should chant. We should chant out loud. And what should we chant out loud? Krishna Krishna. This is saying here we should chant Krishna Krishna. So some people chant other names of the Lord, but the idea is like in Sri Vaishnavism, people are supposed to say Hari 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 Hari, right? Hari 7 times, at least 7 times. As you like. The first thing you do is when you wake up, you chant the name of the Lord, Krishna Krishna. And because even though when we wake up we're in a contaminated situation, we're still in bed and we've sweated during the night or whatever it is, and we're not considered pure at that time, still we can chant the holy name of the Lord, because remember in the Shikshastra it says Smaranena Kalaha. There's no rules and regulations for chanting the holy name like that. Now, there are other things that we can't do until after we take a bath, after we purify ourselves and wear tilak and so many things. We're going to talk about that next. But at least when we wake up and we first come to consciousness from sleep, right, we can at least chant the holy name of the Lord in some way, right? So here it says Krishna Krishna iti kirtayan. So that's nice. So we should wake up and chant the holy name of Lord Krishna. Then we should wash our hands and feet. So what does it say? Prakshalya means washing. Pani pado. Pani pado means the pani means the hands, and pado means the feet. Pani pado. Wash pani pado. Danta davanam acharit. We have to danta davana, clean. So pani pado prakshalya means wash the hands and feet and clean the teeth. Danta davanam. Danta is the teeth. Davana means to clean. Okay. Nice. And part of cleaning the teeth is also scraping the tongue. So we have danta davanam and we have jihwa, which means tongue, unlekanam. So cleaning. So first of all, the teeth are cleaned, and second of all, after that, the tongue is scraped. Okay. So get up early in the morning, chant the holy name of the Lord, right? Wash your hands and feet. Wash your hands and feet with water, right? And then brush your teeth. So we're getting into some details here. Maybe the commentary gives us even more details, but this is just a general idea. Okay, so have to get up in the Brahma Muhurta. Next thing it says, right? Text 21. Thereafter, one should perform achamana. Achamana. Now, what is achamana? Achamana is the sipping of water after the chanting of some mantra, which includes the holy name of the Lord, to purify that water, and placing that water in the palm of the right hand, right, in the middle of the right hand, which is called the Agni Tirtha. The middle of the hand is actually a warmer spot than the other parts of the hand, because blood is flowing more through there. and that the heat, the Agni there, the heat, right, the fire, is purifying the water, and the chanting of the mantra, Om Keshavaya Namaha, and then sipping that water through a particular other part of the hand called the Brahma Tirtha, which is a place where we, either if we're offering to Brahma or if we're sipping ourselves, take that water, right? There are other parts of the hand also, the Deva Tirtha, the Pitri Tirtha, and the Rishi Tirtha, right? So if we're offering to the Devas some water, we offer it through the fingers like this. If we're offering to the Pitris, we offer it near the thumb. If we offer it to the Rishis, we offer it out the other side, right? Right. So there's different ways of offering water through the hand. But here we're talking about achamana, which means to purify the body and the mind and the self by sipping water that's been purified by the names of the Lord with certain mantras, Om Keshavaya Namaha, Om Narayana Namaha, we're going to see in a minute. And to perform different rituals that go along with that, like touching different parts of the body, also with the names of the Lord. And this helps to purify the body. This is called achamya or achamana. So, achamana. So one should perform achamana after doing this, and then change after cleaning the teeth, and then change the clothes that he has slept in. So he's slept in some clothes, right? So he should change out of that and change into some fresh clothes, right? Some clean clothes. After doing so, one should perform achamana. So what does it say? It says, first of all, first of all, we get up, we chant the holy name of the Lord, or we chant the holy name of the Lord even before we get out of bed. We get up, then we wash the hands and feet, then we will clean the teeth and scrape the tongue, and after that, we will perform achamana. Then we will change into fresh clothes, right? And then again, we'll say achamana. Okay? Okay. Continuing on with text 22. In order to completely purify his existence, one should meditate on the lotus feet of his spiritual master, right? As if they were placed upon his head. As if they were placed upon his head. He should offer prayers to his spiritual master and then remember Lord Krishna by reciting the following sloka. Okay? So, after all this is done, we got up, we washed our hands and feet, we chanted the holy name of the Lord, we washed our hands and feet, we brushed our teeth and scraped our tongue. We then did achamana. Again, after achamana, we changed our clothes to fresh clothes, then we did another achamana, and then we sat down and we meditated on the lotus feet of our guru, and we meditate that the guru's feet are on top of our head. So we meditate on that. And after we meditate upon that, we should offer some prayers to the spiritual master. All the spiritual masters, they usually have a prayer specific to them called their pranam mantra. In Tamil, we call it Taniyan. And that can be recited at this time. Or one can also do what's called Guru Parampara Anusandanam, where he remembers all the spiritual masters in the lineage going back to Lord Krishna. And that can be done in two ways, by doing what's called Vakya Parampara or Shloka Parampara. So Vakya Parampara means just simply reciting the names in the dative case of each one of the gurus with Om and Namaha, Om in the beginning and Namaha at the end. So Asma Guru Bhyo Namaha, Asma Parama Guru Bhyo Namaha, Asma Sarva Guru Bhyo Namaha, Shvati Ramanuja Namaha, Shvati Panakrishta Namaha, Shvati Gunamaya Namaha, Shvati Rameshwara Namaha, like that. Going back all the way to Shri Vishvakshenaya Namaha, Shri Namaha, Shri Dharaya Namaha, like that, always to Lord Krishna, Shri Dhara. Yeah. Or it can be done with Sloka Parampara, which means that you say Asmadiyya Parama, Asmadiyya Paramacharya Sheshan Gurun Sriman Lakshmana Yogi Pumaha Punamunyam Yamanam. There are some slokas to say, which going back, or the Taniyan mantras, the Maam Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prastaya Bhutali, like that. And we get back and we say all the different Guru Parampara mantras. Yeah. So in that way, remembering the spiritual master or even the whole Guru Parampara. And then after that, we should remember Lord Krishna by reciting this particular sloka. And here it is. This is from the 10th canto, 90th chapter, 48th verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's Jayati Jana Nivaso Devaki Janmavado Yaduvara Parishad Swer Dhobher Asyan Adamam Stira Chara Vijina Na Sushmita Srimukena Vraja Pura Vanitanam Vardayan Kamadevam. Nice. So, Lord Sri Krishna is one who is known as Jana Nivasa, the ultimate resort of all living entities, and who is also known as Devaki Nandana or Yasoda Nandana. Right? I don't see Yasoda there, but anyway, Devaki Janmavado. Okay, so then it says he is the son of Devaki and Yasoda. He is the guide of the Yadu dynasty, and with his mighty arms he kills everything inauspicious, as well as every man who is impious. By his presence, he destroys all things inauspicious for all living entities, moving and inert. His blissful, smiling face always increases the lusty desires of the gopis of Vrindavan. May he be all glorious and happy. Nice. Now, continuing on, text 24. Smite Sakala Kalyanam Bhajanam Yatra Jayate Purusham Tamajam Nityam Vrajami, I think it is. Vrajami Sharanam Harim. I take shelter of the unborn eternal personality of Godhead Sri Hari. Simply by remembering the Lord, one becomes a reservoir of all auspiciousness. Vidagta, text 25. Vidagta Gopala Vilasinam Sambhoga Chinankita Sarvagatram Pavitram Amnaya Giram Agamyam Brahma Prapadye Navadita Chauram. The mischievous Lord Gopal is unapproachable by the Vedas. He is the supreme Brahman, and he is supremely pure. His entire body is covered with marks caused by the nails and teeth of the gopis in their love play of Vrindavan. I take shelter of Sri Krishna, the butter thief. So again, some more verses from the Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 46th chapter, 46th verse is given here in text 26. As the ladies of Vraja loudly sang the glories of lotus-eyed Krishna, their songs blended in the sound of their churning the buttermilk, ascending, churning the milk and making it into butter and ghee, ascended to the sky and dissipated all inauspiciousness in every direction. Text 27. In order to nullify all kinds of faults that may be found in the society of devotees and obtain the auspicious results, one should repeatedly chant the following three verses. Okay, so those verses that came before, from the verse, let's see, it started off with verse 23, 24, 25, and 26 can be chanted. And then it says here that that after chanting that, one should chant these three verses. And these three verses are Prataha Smarami verses. So Prataha means early in the morning. Smarami means what we should remember early in the morning. There are different forms of these Prataha Smarami verses. These forms are used by many different sampradayas, including the Sri Sampradaya, including the Gaudiya Sampradaya. And they're quoted here, these three particular ones. Right? Pratasmarami Bhavabhiti Maharti Shante Narayanam Garuda Vahanam Madjanabam Raha Vibhuta Vara Varana Mukti Hetum Chakrayudam Taruna Varija Patra Netram. In the morning, I meditate on the lotus-eyed Lord Narayana, who destroys the fearful disease of material existence, who rides on the back of Garuda, whose navel is the birthplace of the universal lotus flower upon which Lord Brahma is born, who delivered the king of elephants, that is Gajendra, when he was attacked by a crocodile, and who carries a disc in his hand. It's important in the morning. One of the important things is to remember Gajendra Moksha, how the Lord came quickly to the aid of his servant, who was the elephant Gajendra. Yeah, so we'll just finish up with the next two verses here. Prata namami manasa vachasa cha mudana padadavinda yugalam paramasya pumsaha narayanasya naraka navataranasya parayana pravana vipra parayanasya. In the morning, I offer my respectful obeisances with my mind, speech, and head at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Narayana, who is the only shelter of the Brahmanas that are inclined to study the Vedas, and who is the only cause of one's deliverance from the hellish conditions of material life. And the last part is Prata Bhajami Bhajatam Bhayankaram Bhayankaramtam Prak Sarva Janma Krita Papa Vyavatyai Yo Graha Vaktra Patitandri Gajendra Gora Shoka Pranasa Shama Karodrita Shanka Chakraha. In the morning, I worship the Supreme Lord, who, with his conch and disc, removed the distress of the king of the elephants, Gajendra, when he was in a precarious condition due to being attacked by a crocodile, and who awards fearlessness to those who worship him for counteracting their sinful reactions accumulated with many births. And there's just one more sloka, which is the Palashruti. At the end of many sets of slokas, they have one more verse or a couple of verses which give the fruit or the result of chanting this particular thing in the morning. Sloka trayam idam punyam prata patetuya loka trayasya traya gurustas yamai dadyat atmapadam harihi. Text 31. Lord Hari, who is the spiritual master of the three worlds, gives himself to one who recites the above mentioned three slokas in the morning.